Have you been dreaming of living in an area with architecture so iconic it's named after the community itself? A neighborhood that beautifully merges contemporary designs with heritage homes from the late 1800s. Well, you've been dreaming of living in the Annex. Now today, you're in for a real treat. Not only are we going to take you around the Annex and show you some of the best real estate in Toronto, we're also going to cover the pros and cons of living in this amazing neighborhood. Then later in the video, we're going to touch on the history of the neighborhood, the schools in the neighborhood, the parks in the neighborhood, what residents get up to when living in this neighborhood, and of course, the real estate in the neighborhood. We can't forget about that. That's what the show is all about. So by the end of the video, I hope you have a pretty good idea of what life in the Annex is really like, and maybe you found your new neighborhood in Toronto. Stick around for an insider's tour of the real Annex. If this is your first time to the channel and you'd like to know everything there is to know about living in Toronto and the surrounding area, then be sure to subscribe so you can be the first to learn about the current market here in Toronto. My name is Philip Kotlier. I'm a local real estate broker, and I get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you. So if that's you, if you're planning on moving across the country, across the world, or just across town, whether it's in 8 days or 80 days, just give me a call. I'm happy to help you make your move everything you want it to be. The Annex is one of Toronto's most vibrant and historic neighborhoods, known for its eclectic blend of old and new. It features tree-lined streets filled with beautiful Victorian and Edwardian homes dating back to the late 1800s, many of which have been preserved and restored. The area is also home to a diverse mix of residents, from students and academics, due to its proximity to the University of Toronto. Also, there's a lot of professionals and artists. The Annex boasts a lively cultural scene with an array of restaurants, cafes, galleries, and bookstores, as well as easy access to public transit. Its mix of heritage architecture and modern amenities makes it a highly sought-after neighborhood, blending historic charm with urban living. The Annex is bounded by Dupont Street in the north, Avenue Road in the east, Bathurst Street in the west, and Bloor Street in the south. This neighborhood is very much embedded with the University of Toronto campus, which is just south of us. This campus has facilities in the Annex, and a lot of students and professional academics live in this neighborhood. There's also a lot of families that live in this neighborhood, as well as politicians, because they're Queen's Park and a lot of the consulates are close by. Now, this neighborhood has a very high walk score, and it's a very walking-friendly neighborhood because there are 4 subway stations that service the community. And then just east of us, you have Yorkville with its lively Michelin star restaurants and high-end shops, which we'll also get to a little bit later in the video. Toronto's Annex is a neighborhood famous for its architecture, with most homes built from the 1880s to the mid-1900s in a variety of styles, from Victorian to Queen Anne to Richardsonian Romanesque. One of the most prominent architects who designed the grand homes in this area was Edward James Lennox. He was also the architect who designed the original Toronto City Hall. Lennox's signature style was a blend of Romanesque architecture lightened by Queen Anne Revival elements. Architectural historian Patricia McHugh coined this unique design the Annex style, which you can see in iconic buildings like 37 and 69 Madison Avenue. The second wave of development in the Annex stretched from 1910 to 1930 and featured English cottage, Georgian, and Tudor architectural styles. The term the Annex dates back to the 1880s when land speculator Simeon Janes purchased a lot of land just north of Bloor Street, which was largely underdeveloped. Simeon petitioned the city of Toronto to allow development in this neighborhood. A year later, the city granted his request and annexed the land, thus creating the name of the neighborhood. Toronto's elites rushed to build houses in this new neighborhood, with one of the first residents being Timothy Eaton and his family, who moved in and bought several houses throughout the community. Interestingly enough, Timothy Eaton's house is now a frat house for the University of Toronto. More than 500 buildings in the Annex are protected by the Toronto Historical Board, ensuring the preservation of numerous Victorian and Edwardian homes constructed between 1880 and the early 1900s. To qualify for protection, a building must have historical significance, unique architecture, or fit well with its surroundings. The process starts with an application, followed by an evaluation and community input. If approved, the building is added to the Heritage Register, ensuring its special features are maintained for future generations. What you'll notice about this interesting neighborhood, aside from the amazing architectural and the great variety of different homes, is that it has these amazing, majestic, mature trees that some of them are over 100 years old. In addition to the trees, you'll notice notice a lot of houses actually have driveways and they have garages, which is quite uncommon in the city of Toronto. A lot of residents end up parking on the street and having to get a permit for street parking. So having your own garage and your own driveway really is a premium thing to have here in the city of Toronto. For an area this affluent and centrally located, you would expect it to have a lot of schools, but actually there's not too many public schools. Most residents take their kids to private schools. The one great elementary school in the neighborhood is Huron Elementary with a rank of 7.2 out of 10, or rank 751 out of 3,021 schools in the province. There is one more elementary school just down the street, and that's Palmerston Ave Elementary. This school has a score of 8.5 out of 10 and a rank of 175 out of 3,021 schools in the province. Private schools are the preference for most families that live in the neighborhood, and Royal St. George College is a great choice because it's right in the community. Royal St. George is a prestigious all-boys private school offering education from grades 3 to 12. Known for its rigorous academic programs, the school emphasizes a well-rounded education that includes strong extracurriculars in arts, athletics, and leadership. We covered elementary, we covered private school. Now we need to talk about post-secondary and secondary schools because we have an amazing school just down the street right in the Annex, and that's the University of Toronto, ranked one of the top schools in Canada, one of the top schools in the world actually. U of T is known for its academic excellence, diverse programs, and cutting-edge research across various disciplines. It offers a wide range of undergraduate, graduate, and professional degrees and is renowned for its faculties in medicine, law, engineering, and business. The university boasts a vibrant campus life with numerous clubs, organizations, and cultural events. Its historic architecture, world-class faculty, and global reputation attracts students and scholars from around the world. In terms of different property types, you see a wide variety of housing in the Annex. We obviously have a lot of heritage homes, which we've touched on in detail. There are also townhomes, semi-detached homes. There's also condos, and there are apartment buildings. The one thing you don't see too much of in this community are high-rise towers because neighborhood residents fight tooth and nail to resist the development of high-rise buildings, so it's really a predominantly detached community. Now, one house that recently sold I want to touch on is this home right over here. This house features 4 bedrooms, 4 washrooms with 2 parking spots. It recently sold for $4.5 million and features 3,500 square feet of interior living space. The neighborhood is serviced by 4 separate subway stations. We have St. George Station right here behind me, Spadina Station just the way down, Dupont Station, as well as Museum Station. Now, a lot of area residents do own a car, but you definitely don't need a car to get around. It's a very walking-friendly neighborhood. You can get anywhere you need to go by foot. If you do need to get somewhere else, you could always hop in an Uber, and in 10 minutes, you can be anywhere in Toronto. If you're looking for relaxation, outdoor activities, and community engagement, the Annex has it all. Start your adventure at the Royal Ontario Museum, where you can marvel at dinosaur bones and ancient artifacts. Just a short walk away is the Art Gallery of Ontario, featuring an impressive collection of Canadian and international art alongside rotating exhibits. Don't miss the Liz Gallery, showcasing vibrant contemporary works. Film buffs will love the Bloor Hot Dog Cinema, the largest in Toronto dedicated to documentaries. Cap off your day with live music at Lee's Palace or a cozy meal at Madison Avenue Pub, set in beautiful Victorian homes. There's something for everyone in the Annex. The Annex is clearly an affluent area with real estate prices a little bit more elevated than the rest of the city, but there are properties for all budgets in this community. Now, the entry-level property would be a condominium in the $500,000 mark, and condos can go well into the $1 to $2 million range for the larger spaces. In terms of houses, they generally start around $3.5 million and can get up to $10, $11, $12 million for the larger properties. Now, here's another home that recently sold right over here beside me. This is a semi-detached property, recently sold for $3.1 million. Features 2 bedrooms, 4 washrooms, and look what happened after it was sold. The new owners decided to renovate, so they're probably putting in a lot more money. So that gives you another snapshot of a more mid-range property here in the Annex. Here we are on the Bloor Street Strip in the southern portion of the community. This street is where Toronto comes out at night. and gets together because there's a lot of clubs, bars, and restaurants right in this vicinity. A lot of the university students go out here at night as well, so it's quite a lively location. And then on the eastern side of the street, you have Yorkville with its high-end shops, the Mink Mile with the Chanels and the Guccis of the world. Now in this area, there's a few places I love to frequent. One is Sushi on Bloor, a very nice sushi place that's been around for over 20 years. Another one is Eva's Original Ice Cream Cones. If you're ever in the area and want a great ice cream, be sure to check out Eva's Original. Interestingly, some of the grand mansions have been converted to sororities and fraternities, specifically ones that were purchased in the 60s and 70s on major streets such as St. George, where we are here. You can see one of these fraternity houses right behind me. They bring a lot of the student population right into the community. If you're looking for green space in your neighborhood, the Annex has got you covered. Take a look at the community from the sky. I mean, there's so many trees and green spaces. We really have a lot of fresh air in this community. Now, there are some parks I would recommend. The Philosopher's Walk in the University of Toronto is a really nice paved walkway that you can check out. Turtle Creek Park in the community is a great place to visit as well with your family. And then on the east side of town, we have Queen's Park, which is part of the Ontario Legislature. A lot of events and festivals are held in Queen's Park. And then on the west side, we have Christie Pitts Park, another large park downtown. So lots of options for you in terms of park here in the Annex. We covered a couple of homes in the community, but I definitely want to cover a condominium as well, because condominium living is very popular in this part of town. Now, this building you see right over here behind me is called Exhibit Residences. It was built recently and it's right on Bloor Street. It looks over the Royal Ontario Museum, and all the views in the south are protected forever. This building is right on the subway line as well, so you can walk right out the building and jump into the subway. Now, there is a 2-bedroom plus den that recently sold in this building. It features 1,000 square feet of living space, 2 bathrooms, 1 parking, and it sold for $1,345,000. That breaks out to $1,345 per square foot. Okay, we've covered a lot of the highlights of the neighborhood. Really, all these highlights we've talked about, I consider those the pros, the kind of benefits of living in this neighborhood. Now I want to touch on some of the cons, some of the downsides of living in a community like the Annex. Now, the first one we're going to touch on is the fact that there's a lot of film shoots that take place in this neighborhood and shut down streets and sidewalks for weeks and months at a time. That's one of the downsides of having such a beautiful, picturesque neighborhood. Hollywood North wants to capture it, put it in a movie. So lots of shows and movies actually get filmed in this community and really kind of slows down commuting times here for a while. The next con I want to talk about is the fact that there are a lot of university students in this neighborhood. There's a lot of frats and sororities in this neighborhood, and it brings a lot of parties, a lot of unsightly characters at times. Have you seen the movie Animal House? Just to give you an idea of what kind of can happen here. So if you're the type of person that wants a very quiet Friday, Saturday night, living close to these sororities and fraternities may not be the best fit for you. Another con I want to touch on, I kind of touched on it earlier in the video briefly, the fact that this area is very expensive for Toronto, for Canada as a whole. As well, obviously, we saw a semi that started at $3.1 million. It needed a renovation. We saw a detached home for around $4.5 million, and that's definitely not the top of the spectrum. I mean, there are some homes that trade for 10, 11, 12 million, so you definitely have to be in a certain price bracket to afford living in this community. But if you do, you have a lot of choices. You could really live anywhere in the country, anywhere in Toronto, but a lot of people do choose the Annex as their final destination. Another beautiful tree-lined street in the Annex gives you a real good feel of what this community is all about. You know, we've jumped around this pocket and saw the kind of the older streets, some of the newer streets, some of the new construction pieces. I think you guys had a pretty good idea of what life in this community is like. We took a look at the history, the schools, the parks, the recreation, and what do you guys think? What's your favorite part of this neighborhood? Was there a home that stood out for you? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Now, moving forward, we're putting out a video a week about everything to do with life in Toronto, including neighborhood tours, property guides, and real estate stats. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be the first to be notified when a new video is released. That's it for today. We'll see you guys on the next one.